Hi there, so this video is titled How to Deal with Emotional Hell. A pretty relevant and tough topic for a lot of people who might just be going through intense stuff that they can't really put their finger on. Just for the sake of this video, let's just kind of set up a scenario or a few different possibilities. If you're dealing with, the loss of somebody in your life, dealing with a broken heart situation, some sort of a traumatic event that happened that you're replaying over in your mind over and over again. Let's just say, for the sake of this video, that whatever you're dealing with is not a physical problem or any kind of physical effects, but it is purely a emotional, mental, psychological problem. So other than that, you're fine, you're not harmed, you're not homeless on the street, you have your basic needs met, but despite that, then you are in a state of emotional hell and just feeling like you're depressed, frustrated, burnout, overwhelmed, emotionally mixed up, confused, conflicted, etc. And so this is making life difficult and unpleasant and maybe even unbearable. So the question is, what is going on here? What is the deal with this? If you're fine in other respects, then why is life miserable? What is it that you're dealing with? And so what I would say is that what you're dealing with is frozen emotions that are stuck within your consciousness, within your psyche, that are buried in your subconscious, that need to be in a state of movement. The fundamental nature of energy is to be moving. Energy is not supposed to be locked up and frozen. That is against the flow of the universe. It is not how the universe is supposed to work. There is, of course, energy locked up in various things, in physical matter, in a rock or dirt or a piece of wood or whatever. That is frozen potential energy, but it is a temporary state, and ultimately it will all convert back to moving energy rather than potential energy, as I understand it. I'm no physicist, but this is my basic approach to the spiritual path, which is one of figuring out how to get your internal energies moving instead of being locked up. So the three basic emotions, as I see it, are fear, anger, and sadness. And these are all very different, distinct expressions of energy, of our emotional being. And these emotions are how the feeling body clears itself. So the feeling body is an aspect of our consciousness, as is our mental body, our thinking, our thoughts, our belief systems. That is one part of who we are. But then there is another aspect of our being, which is the feeling nature. And this is actually something that is beyond emotion. It is distinct from emotion. The basic essence of that feeling part of ourselves is basically just a feeling of love, a feeling of bliss, of being in the moment, is our basic nature of being, as I understand it. But when difficult things happen in life, challenging circumstances, traumatic events, and whatnot, then these oftentimes will cause a repression of our being. And the way that we deal with that repression is through the release of energy through emotion. So that is what emotion is. Emotion is an energetic response to the circumstances of life, and it is just a scientific principle of, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so emotion is the reaction or the response to life circumstances. And so it is meant to be a basic, fundamental, integral aspect of being, of emotional responses to various circumstances. But due to just the cultures in which we live and just 3D reality and being human, and nobody wants to be around someone who's crying all the time or angry all the time, or we all have our impatience and lack of tolerance for random emotional expression. It's just part of being human. But unfortunately, this has a way of blocking our feeling body, of repressing our true, honest responses to life, and so we get backed up. And so here I'm finally getting to the point, which is that emotional hell is a result of backed up emotions that are frozen and not in a state of movement and expression. And so the answer for dealing with emotional, mental, psychological hell and trauma is to get your emotions moving somehow or another, to tap into those honest, true feelings and get them flowing somehow. Get that energy moving back into a state of movement instead of being in a state of being locked up and frozen and constricted. And these are to a great extent stuff down in our subconscious. And so what we experience is just kind of a dead feeling, like there should be something else there. We should be experiencing or feeling something more, but we just feel numbed out, cold, lifeless, or else constantly frustrated, impatient, easily angered, depressed, down on life, self-hating, just having a generally negative outlook on our life, etc. Various negative thought patterns which are connected to our emotional state of being. So thoughts and emotions are connected to each other and affect one another. You can change how you're thinking by changing how you're feeling. You can change how you're feeling by changing how you're thinking. But very often, then, it is the emotional energy that's especially difficult to work with and that is especially repressed. Emotional energy is kind of the more raw, primal, intense, powerful energy. And so the question then is, how do you work with it? How do you get it moving? How do you get that emotional feeling part of ourselves, that potential energy, into a state of movement so that we can feel the life force energy of the universe flowing through us instead of being blocked up, instead of ramming into us because our energetic channels are all blocked up and unable to receive the energy of the universe, the prana, the chi. That's basically the problem, is like we have these channels within our energetic being, our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical as well, self, because it's all energy, the physical as well. And so when we are backed up, when we are blocked up, then we are blocking out the divine energy of the universe that is flowing all around us right now. And so we can't feel it, and so we feel separated and numbed out and deadened to life and to our true potential. So there are many different ways to deal with this. A whole long list of tools. Let's take acupuncture, for example. Acupuncture deals with the energetic vortex points within our body, the energetic channels of our physical body, which are points where the chi, the prana of the universe, intersects with the physical, with our body. And so by the use of the needles that they put in you, then they break open the energy channels and they get energy flowing. So I found acupuncture to be very useful. So that's one thing to check out. There are various workshops that deal with this kind of stuff. I went to an inner child workshop when I was 19, I think. I was getting started on this kind of stuff that young. And it was a very powerful weekend workshop of getting in touch with your real emotions, getting in touch with your anger and your sadness and your resentment towards various people in your lives, looking at your relationships that are holding you back, and all this kind of stuff. So some kind of a workshop or class or supportive environment of other people that are doing this kind of inner work and want to go deeper with things and not just be relating on the shallow surface cultural level that our society tends to be at, which is one of denying and ignoring emotional problems, just the difficult stuff that most of us are dealing with in our consciousness at some level or another, but which just isn't really talked about much. So yoga is a great way to also get in touch with your internal energy and get your work on your body and your spirit at the same time, because yoga works with the physical and the spiritual, and it can open up those energy channels and get them moving. Meditation is, of course, a great way to become more aware, more conscious, more mindful of what is going on within your consciousness. And this leads to another point, which is, pardon me, which is that simply having the conscious intention, becoming more aware of your feelings and your emotions, is one of the most helpful ways to get more in touch with them, to work with them, to wrestle with them, and to start integrating that emotional feeling part of ourselves with the mind, with the conscious mental body. So just having that awareness, okay, I have a emotional feeling part of myself. It isn't all just about the thoughts and the beliefs, but there is another element here that is to a great extent buried in the subconscious. And by just making that conscious intention, diving down into the subconscious, sitting in meditation or whatever, and looking within, seeing what's going on, paying more attention to how you're really feeling. These little things that come up, these little tips of the iceberg that poke up every once in a while, and suddenly we feel annoyed, or we snap at somebody, or we just kind of have this wave of depression or whatever, to become more aware and conscious of it, and to start working with that energy, tapping into that energy, figuring out how to integrate it with our conscious mind and thoughts. Just having that awareness can make a big difference and can lead you in the right direction of finding integration with all that is going on within one's consciousness, not just the conscious mind, not just the thoughts and the thinking, and just trying to focus positively, or trying to think positively, trying to think kindly about somebody who the reality is you're pissed at. Instead, taking a look at what is the reality, how you really feel, why do you really feel that way, and acknowledge that, embrace that, honor that, work with that, and figure out how you can tap into, utilize, direct that energy, and in the process transmute and transform it, so that you're really embracing that part of yourself that feels a certain way, rather than stuffing it down and rationalizing it away and hoping that it just kind of disappears. Because that isn't how energy works. Energy doesn't disappear. You have to work with it. You have to acknowledge it. And any energy moving is okay. There's nothing wrong with anything you feel. It's how you respond to it, what actions you take based on it, how you work with it, etc. So that has been my experience, that in acknowledging and working with your real feelings, you change them, you transform them, you transmute them, and you get in touch with a deeper part of yourself and start getting more in touch with the truth of your being beneath these negative emotions. by going through, by braving the dark tunnel and then finding a greater light on the other side through diving down into your real feelings, whatever they may be. If it's all joy and love and bliss and happiness and excitement, and just awesome passion for your fellow human beings, and that's really how you feel, then awesome, you're in a good space. But most people are struggling with negative, difficult, challenging, unpleasant emotions, and so in my view, you have to acknowledge that and work with that, and that's how you really make fundamental changes in your being. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Take care.